Please take your seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi guys, and welcome to 1minutetennis.com. In today's session, I want to talk to you about the precise details of the racket lag. And I want to show you why one specific movement is essential and necessary for the lag to have any effect on the stroke whatsoever. Most of the people here will be adult players who struggle to get speed on their forehand. And yet you'll all have seen juniors who seem to effortlessly hammer the forehand. It's not because of strength, it's not because of size, it's obviously because of technique. I want to show you the specific science of how to get more speed into your forehand with less effort, how to get the forehand power that you see in high-level juniors all over the world. Now, the greatest difference between the forehands of today and the forehands of 20 or 30 years ago is the racket lag. But the racket lag was present in the forehands of Boris Becker, Stefan Edberg and all of those great players, but it wasn't present in the same way. The key to it is that when you look at Becker and Edberg and Lendl's forehands, there were great strokes in their time, but nothing like the speed of the forehands of today. Then the racket lag resulted in the butt of the racket pointing towards the target, and then they would snap through and hit the ball. So some of the players watching this video will have zero racket lag and just swing through like this. But many of you will actually release the racket and allow the racket to point towards the target and then swing through and feel that you have a correct racket lag. But this racket lag is very ineffective. It provides a little bit more momentum. It provides a little bit more leverage, but it provides none of the forces that are creating the incredible power of today's strokes. Let me show you the difference and how you can find it in your forehand. So if I take the racket back and make the racket butt point in towards me, across from me between you and I, or to you in the camera, then I still have a linear stroke. See how I'm going to swing straight through the ball. If I can maneuver the racket so that the racket butt points away to your left, to my right, away from my body, then now I create a rotational stroke. Linear and rotational. Linear and rotational. But this is highly counterintuitive. It's very unnatural, and more than that, it happens so quickly and the difference is so small. How are you possibly going to reproduce that in your game? And why do junior players find it so easy to produce and senior players find it so difficult? And the answer for the children and why children find it easier is the weight and leverage of the racket. You see, if I hold the racket with maybe one finger and a thumb, then now I'm kind of connecting with the physical strength and maneuverability and control of the racket that maybe a 6 or a 7-year-old will have. And if I hold the racket in that fashion and then swing, then the racket naturally lags behind and outwards. It doesn't lag to you in the camera. This was uncomfortable on my hand. It lags outwards and then back in. It becomes naturally a rotational stroke. This is because centripetal force is present. It might not be a strong centripetal force, but it's present, pulling the racket into the body, and therefore the effect of centrifugal force projects the racket out. You see, centripetal force, if I rotate the racket on my hand, then the force that's bringing the racket into my hand is centripetal force. And that creates an effect where on the outside there is a force sending the racket away. And these two work in tandem. Centripetal is the initiator, centrifugal is the reaction. So as I make the stroke here, the core of my body wants to bring the racket in. And that, if I allow it to go to its full extent, will result in the racket butt pointing away to your left, to my right, and then centrifugal force will naturally create much more racket speed, much more force, much more power, and a much better stroke. Here's a great way of testing your stroke and seeing whether you really have the correct motion, the correct racket lag that will make real power in your forehand, that'll make the difference between the Boris Becker forehand and the Jannik Sinner forehand. So now I have a bottle of water, and I'll just remove the lid so that you can see that I have water in the bottle. and I'm going to squeeze the bottle. I'm not going to hold it from the top here because that means that my grip and wrist will have to be very firm. And for this to work, and for the forehand to work, the grip and the wrist have to be very relaxed. They have to go with the flow. So I'm going to push into the bottle here so that I have an easy place to hold it. And now I'm going to make the swing with no racket lag whatsoever. And the water comes out of the bottle. I don't even want to finish the stroke. I'm just going to get wet through. Now I'm going to make a linear racket lag where the butt cap or the top of the bottle will reach a point where it sees you in the camera. And when I do this, then still the water comes out of the bottle. And I'm not creating centripetal force, so the water is not kept inside. I'm therefore not creating a centrifugal effect, and I have an ineffective stroke. Essentially, I'm muscling the ball. I'm not creating any momentum or any leverage in the stroke. But now I'm going to make the same motion, and I'm going to get the bottle to point out to your left, to my right. And I make the stroke here, and no matter how fast or how slow I make the stroke, the water has to stay in the bottle because centripetal force is pushing the water inwards. And as the bottle is pointing in that direction, then the inward force keeps the water inside the bottle. And now centrifugal force is pointing the racket and the water outwards. And as I swing outwards, again, the water has to stay in the bottle. The water was always there, but with the correct swing, then the water has to stay in the bottle both behind me and in front of me. When you've been successful at applying centripetal and centrifugal force into a swing with the bottle, and therefore creating all of the energy and forces of the modern forehand, then now let's apply it to the racket, but we'll use the bottle as well. So see how I'm holding the racket and the bottle. This is now an almost full bottle of water. But if I reproduce the same movement, I can't make a ready position because then the water is just going to fall out. So I'm going to have to start down here. But now once again, I swing out and across, out and across. And if I create the correct lag, then the water has to stay in the bottle and the force has to be building and building and then projected away from me and into the racket and therefore into the ball. If I make the narrower lag where you can see into the top of the bottle, then the water has to come out of the bottle. But if I make the extended lag pointing out to your left away from me, then the water cannot come out of the bottle. Once we've done this, the natural thing to do is to remove the water and reproduce the feeling with the racket. If you're not sure and want to check it, then choke up on the grip and point it away. See how I'm making sure that I'm creating centripetal force by pointing the racket away to your left, away to my right. And now I inch down and make the same movement. This is the difference between your forehand and probably the best forehands in the world. So use the centripetal and centrifugal force. Use the laws of physics that create the incredible forehands of today's game, and you'll have a bigger, better and faster forehand. If you like this idea, then check out our books covering every aspect of the game, check out our online courses, or join me working with players from over 40 countries all over the world with a unique one-to-one online tennis consultation service. For more information on any of these, check out the website or email me. So don't use a 1980s forehand. Don't use a 1990s forehand. Use the forehand of today. Use the science that we know and understand in the strokes to create easier, faster and more powerful forehands. Thanks for watching and see you next time for more unique tennis lessons that really work.